Hey everyone, and welcome to InfoForge. So today we're diving into the pretty dramatic experiment that's unfolding in Burkina Faso. We're talking about a story of revolution, a fight for sovereignty, and some incredibly high stakes. But you know, the reality on the ground, it's way more complex than you might think. And we're going to unpack all of it. Let's get right into it. All right, so let's set the scene. The year is 2022. There's a lot of rising insecurity, a lot of public frustration, and then suddenly, this young army captain, Ibrahim Traoré, and get this, he's just 34 years old, he seizes power in a military coup. Right away, he becomes this symbol of bold defiance, and he's promising to completely reshape his country's entire destiny.
And, this wasn't just your standard promise of stability. No, Traoré's vision was way bigger. It was revolutionary. He was talking about restoring national dignity, pride, securing the country from all the insurgent groups. And then there's this key phrase he uses, achieving true independence. Independence from the old colonial ties and all that foreign influence.
So that begs the question, right? What's the real story here? Is this a genuine revolution for self-reliance? Or is there something else going on under the surface? Well, to really understand what's happening now, we've got to rewind a bit and look at the past.
Okay, a quick history lesson. Burkina Faso gets its independence from France back in 1960, but the name you really need to know is Thomas Sankara. He was this charismatic, revolutionary leader back in the 80s, a real icon. And Traoré, he is deliberately, very consciously tying himself to Sankara's powerful anti-imperialist legacy. He's basically framing his own coup in 2022 as picking up where Sankara left off.
All right, so that's the history. Now, what does this vision of Traoré's actually look like on the ground? Well, he calls it building the African dream. And the whole idea is built on two big pillars: sovereignty and, maybe most importantly, self-reliance.
And he's not just talking, he's backing it up with these big, very visible projects. For starters, a massive memorial to Thomas Sankara, really hammering home that symbolic connection. Then you've got this big push for a national digital transformation. He's promising mass housing projects, big campaigns for agricultural self-sufficiency, so the country can feed itself. And right at the core of all this is a major reform of the mining sector. Because the goal is to make sure the country's incredible mineral wealth actually benefits its own people.
Now, to really get why this message is so powerful, you have to know one single number. And it's a huge one: 65%. That's the percentage of Burkina Faso's population that is under the age of 25. Just think about that. It's an unbelievably young country. So these projects, they're not just about concrete and steel. They are a direct, powerful appeal to this massive generation of young people. It's about jobs, it's about national pride, it's about giving them a vision for their future.
But here's the thing, to pull off this ambitious domestic vision, Traoré decided he couldn't rely on the old partners. He needed new allies. And that belief has led to this radical and pretty controversial pivot in foreign policy, a pivot that has completely reshaped the country's place on the world stage.
And I mean, when we say a shift, we mean it. It is stark. Look at this. The old partners, France, the US, he's cut those long-standing security ties. He pulled out of ECOWAS, which is like the big economic club for West African nations, and instead, he's building new alliances. A brand new alliance of Sahel states with his neighbors in Mali and Niger. And at the same time, he's getting much, much closer with Russia.
So you can imagine, a pivot like that doesn't happen in a vacuum. It has very real, and in this case, very dramatic consequences. And honestly, there is no better example of this clash, this collision between Traoré's anti-Western worldview and, well, the rest of the world, than what happened with a massive international project to fight malaria.
Yeah, this is where the story really takes a sharp turn, and it all boils down to this one really troubling question. What happens when a life-saving scientific project, something designed to help thousands of people, is suddenly reframed not as a solution, but as a threat?
Okay, so the project is called Target Malaria. It's a big deal funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and it's a huge collaboration. Scientists from Africa, Europe, North America, all working together. The goal is pretty incredible. They're using genetically modified mosquitoes to try and reduce the population of the one type of mosquito that actually spreads malaria. We're talking about really cutting-edge science here aimed at tackling one of the deadliest diseases on the planet.
And let's be absolutely clear about why this matters so much. The stakes are unbelievably high. According to the World Health Organization, in 2023, Africa accounted for over 95% of all malaria deaths in the entire world. That number is just staggering. This isn't just some health problem, it is a full-blown crisis, and Burkina Faso is one of the countries that's hit incredibly hard by it.
But in this new political climate, this scientific project suddenly became a perfect target for anti-Western propaganda. And the accusations that started flying around were just explosive. Stuff like, it's a secret cover for biological warfare, or it's a Western plot for population control, that it's a way to test on Africans, treating them like guinea pigs, or even that it's all just a big scheme for Big Pharma to make a profit. And guess what? The propaganda worked. In 2024, Traore's government made it official. They suspended the Target Malaria program. And not just that, they ordered all of the scientific samples destroyed. Just like that. A multi-year, multinational scientific effort, years of work, gone. Stopped dead in its tracks.
So this brings us right to the core tension of this whole Traore experiment. It's like you're looking at two sides of the same coin. On one side, you've got this story of immense promise and a surge in national pride. But on the other, there's this profound sense of peril and deep international concern. The country is, without a doubt, at a major crossroads.
Let's break that down. So, on one hand, the promise, you've got genuine support at home. You can see this rising national pride. There are visible projects going up, and his message of sovereignty, it is absolutely resonating with that huge young population we talked about. But then, on the other hand, the peril, you have international observers sounding the alarm. They're worried about a departure from democratic norms, about new restrictions on civil liberties, and they're asking some really serious questions about the country's long-term economic and political stability. And ultimately, this is why you hear so many analysts describe what's happening under Traoré not as a simple success or a failure. They call it a promising but contested experiment. And that phrase really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? The vision is ambitious, for sure, and it has absolutely energized a lot of people. But the methods being used, well, they're creating some pretty significant risks along the way.
And so this leaves us with a final, really critical question. Can a nation actually build its dream on sovereignty alone? Is that enough? Or, as the whole malaria project controversy seems to suggest, is the price of breaking away from global systems and international scientific collaboration just too high to pay in the end?
That's a question that Burkina Faso is answering for the world, right now, in real time. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer on InfoForge. If you found this interesting or learned something new, do us a huge favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. We'll see you then.